Good Monday morning. Welcome back to the Zags Insiders podcast. Richard Fox, Jim Meehan with you for another 50 minutes or more. Foxy, we're going to get to all the hoop, the Zags week, what's coming, the battle for the solo title, outright title, all those things. But look at here. I brought props today. What do you think of that?
That's nice. That's nice.
I'm telling you, that was something.
Did you get
That
up at five? Did you get up at 5 in the morning?
I didn't. I got up later. I was actually up at 5 and I thought about it, but I had a late night covering the game. Didn't get to bed till I don't know midnight 30 or something. So
Right.
I did not. But man, that last goal that was something. The hockey celebrations are the best of
Yeah, for
any
sure.
sport, and the same thing with the women's match. Same team, same country. USA 2-1 in overtime as well. What a goal that was by Megan Keller. A little flip behind, boom.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. Those all my favorite teams highlights. Uh, Vinny Scully on Kirk Gibson's homer in the World Series. Cooper Cup's touchdown catch for the Rams in the Super Bowl to win it. Mike Jones' tackle to beat Tennessee in the what was that 03 Super Bowl. All those are my teams. But
Hmm.
for sheer, the only call that ever makes me, I get goosebumps every time I hear is Al Michaels on
Oh yeah.
Miracle on
Do you
Ice.
believe in miracle? Yeah.
Every single time. Still, I'm 62, Foxy. Still gets me. And that one the other day, both those were unbelievable. What did you turn yourself into a hockey man for a day there?
Well, I actually like hockey. I grew up obviously in Denver, so when I was growing up in the '90s, they were really good, and we had that rivalry with Detroit. So you know, I still follow it. Don't watch it as much as obviously I would if I lived in Denver, but. So I know enough of the players and where they play, which is I think helpful. But yeah, obviously when the U.S. is playing, you know, especially Canada, it's must watch. I did not get up at 5 though, so I did I got when I by the time I turned the TV on, they were still covering the aftermath and all that, and so
Oh,
I
okay.
went on YouTube and watched watched the highlights and then went down the rabbit hole of the Four Nations deal and all of that. So it was no, it was awesome. I mean, it's to your point, it's one of those sports where if you know just a little bit about hockey, you can watch it, and those types of big games, I think, get into it. I'm not sure soccer has that same dynamic in this country. I love soccer too, but there's something about just the Olympic hockey that just changes things, and people are going to be motivated to watch. And um, I'm just happy that they seem to always be competitive games.
Yeah.
You know,
There's nothing like overtime hockey either. I don't know
no.
what it is, but man, especially the 3-on-3. I know Canada is not a big fan of that right now. Instead of 5-on-5, but I mean it is like fast break basketball.
I know,
It's
but
different.
to be
But
fair, I think it's a really odd wrinkle to the sport. I mean, you wouldn't do that if you had the overtime in the France and the U.S. You wouldn't go 3-on-3 full court.
yeah,
It's just
it's different.
yeah, it's different. It's kind of like you're all of a sudden playing a totally different game.
Yeah,
So I'm not a fan of that, but obviously happy that the U.S. won.
yeah, incredible. Olympics were incredible. That so many cool deals that 41-year-old bobsledder that
Hmm.
won. The lady who won third in a cross country skiing got a medal, I think. And just her interview alone, just go find it. That the world needs more of that positivity. What she
Oh,
talks
really?
about, oh, unreal. And our speed skater, the kid, the 20, is he 20, 21 years old, won two golds, stoles. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, loved all that stuff. So, Foxy, you sound better. You were broadcasting hurt the other day. You getting a little better?
I'm moving in the right direction. Still got a little ways to go, but yeah, I don't, it's how it is when you got small kids. They were sick first, and now it's my turn. So my wife's just waiting on the wings for it to be her turn.
All right. Well, you sound a lot better. You look better.
Thank you, thank you.
You don't look like an old favorite sweater to me. Yeah,
Yeah, Greg.
Craig Heisted threw a
It's
little jab in there.
well, there's worse things for him to tease me about. I can promise you that.
All right, well, let's get to it. The Zags had a 2-0 week,
Mm,
another eventful week, and they got another one coming. They're now one game ahead in the standings. A win over Portland, who handed Gonzaga their only loss earlier this year at the Chiles Center. That game's on Wednesday. If the Zags win it, they are guaranteed at least a co-championship and the number one seed in the tournament. Um, in fact, I don't know. Yeah, they have to win that to do that. No matter what the outcome is for the big showdown Saturday in Moraga. Gonzaga St. Mary's one more time, same as it ever was. Try to decide who wins the title outright or solo. But first, we'll talk a little bit about the top 16 reveal was Saturday.
yeah.
Zags came out on the three line. I figured they were either the last three or the first four seed, and turns out they were both. When the committee was putting their bracket together, originally the Zags were on the four line, but then JT Toppin got hurt for Texas Tech. Texas Tech lost to Arizona State. Zags beat Arizona State earlier in the year. And I heard two different interviews where that moved Texas Tech to the four line, opened up the spot for the Zags on the three line. I think one was the committee chair, and one was another one of the selection committee members talked about that. So Zags on the three line, I think that's about as good as you can hope for with quad three loss to Portland. Still, probably the big blemish on the resume. Losing to Michigan by 40. A lot of teams have lost to Michigan by 30 or more this year, and
Hmm.
that team is still, even after losing to Duke, that team is still, in my mind, that's still probably the team to beat. But anyway, the Zags have. I think the kind of the takeaway from it all was the Zags have a chance to get to the two line for sure. I think if they
Mm.
went out, I think I can see that happening. They're only after that day, Saturday, the reveal, six of the top 16 lost that day alone. I think two of the one seeds maybe lost, and no, Houston wasn't on the one line. I take that back. Michigan lost.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Iowa State lost, and
Everybody, no, I think 8 of the top 10 lost this week. So
yeah. I mean, obviously, four of the top, all four top ranked teams played each other. So
yeah,
I don't think that's going to impact their seed line per se. Um, yeah, I mean, I watched the Arizona Houston game all the way through. That was
great game.
a fabulous game. Just so physical, defensive oriented, really difficult to find offense. And then I watched the bulk of that Michigan Duke game, and you know, kind of the same thing. Just a very physical game, a lot of size on the floor. Difficult to find easy opportunities to score. The
Yeah,
talent level for all four of those teams is pretty high. I mean,
yeah,
there's multiple pros for each one of those teams on the floor at any given time. So, a fun weekend of basketball for sure.
yeah. Those to me just felt like Final Four games. Just
That's
the
exactly what it felt like.
physicality. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was grown man basketball out there, not for the faint-hearted. And either of those games could have gone either way, but Arizona really was impressive to do it at Houston. That Fleming's kid for Houston he is tough. Arizona handled him. Arizona is, I mean, they will bloody your lip and pound you on the glass.
They
And
just, and I mean, they didn't have Pete in that game. He's been out with a lower body injury. I think he should be back for him pretty soon. But they play some young guys. The German kid, I can't remember his name.
yeah,
He doesn't play like a
very
19-year-old
good.
year old. I mean, he's been playing in top level Germany for a long time. Their guard is really impressive. Their they're really big. I mean, with is it Krivas and then it doesn't matter, but
Waka, yeah, great
yeah,
player.
it's and they the way they're really good defensively. I just was watching both those teams, their help side, keeping the ball in front, and then when the shot goes up, it is literally just a free for all.
Yeah.
I mean, they hit people. I'm going to hit a body before I even think about getting the rebound. Just really interesting. We're coming down the stretch here, Jim, and trying to think about who really does have the horsepower to get to a Final Four, and then comparing what you're watching on Saturday to where Gonzaga is now. Just an interesting exercise.
I believe Arizona's roster is the most complete, both sides of the ball, because of Bradley. Because of
Yeah,
Bradley, like
he's a very good college
Mi-
guard.
I mean, Michigan has an unbelievable front line, but they've got great backcourt. But I think I'd take Bradley over Cadeau. Let's put it that way.
I would too.
Uh, and that may be the differentiator for me in those two teams. But very complete teams. None more complete than those two in my mind. But real quick, 13.5, 13 and a half of those teams on average in the reveal, top 16 stay in the top 16 by the end of the season for Selection Sunday. That's the average through the years. So
Okay.
pretty good sign. But I do think the Zags to get to that two line, they'd almost have to win out. Maybe if they went 1-1 with St. Mary's, maybe they could slip in there. But so much of that's going to depend on the other teams losing. Kansas lost. A lot of teams lost. 8 of the top 10 lost. So that included a bunch of the twos and the threes. So we'll see. But good to know kind of where they stand. We talk about the brackets every week and nets and all that, but that's the only bracket that matters. All the other stuff is noise, kind of guideposts. The reveal is what matters. Net number 5 for the Zags. I think that's right around where they were a week ago. St. Mary's 25, very good, holding solid for quad ones. Santa Clara is a 40. Pacific is at 108, I believe. So in the AP poll, Foxy, if you run across it, let me know. I think they're going to move back in the top 10. So many teams lost. I think I could see them
Yeah, I
getting
think that's
back in the
probably
top
fair.
10. Yeah. All right. The week that was University of San Francisco at the Chase Center. I believe that's 3 straight years. And I believe that's 3 straight years. The Zags have gone down there and won, probably with a 50-50 type crowd instead of venerable War Memorial, one of my most favorite gyms in the world, with the banners and the Hall of Fame bus and the tradition of that place. Gonzaga kind of looked like Gonzaga of a month or two ago, or 2 weeks ago, however far you want to go back. Bunch of paint points, 22 for Graham Ike, took it over. Um, you know, up up in Spokane, San Francisco gave GU fits from the 3 point line. I think they were 14 of 28. They had a
They
three.
were, yeah.
They had a three to win it, uh, and missed it at the buzzer. So the Zags got away with a 2 point win in that one. But they shut them down this time around. Uh, and USF missed some shots, but a lot of times they were not the easiest looks. There was some contesting going on there, and it was 5 of 24 on the stat sheet for the Dons. David Fuchs missed 2 layups pretty early on, and that kind of was a sign of what was to come. I really thought their offense was limited to Cook, Smiley, and Riley. Those three guys kind of gave them about all they had, and they finished with 59 points. So another big night for Gonzaga's defense. Um, I don't know. You mentioned this a week or so back, maybe even farther, that when you thought that USF might have lost some confidence. Just didn't look like a team playing with confidence, and that sure looked that way against Gonzaga on what was that, Wednesday, I think. Whatever, it was midweek last week. They just their roster is, to me, is better than what we're seeing, but they just don't have it together. And I think you're right. There's just something missing, and it probably is confidence. That's a big deal with 19, 20-year-old kids. Can't hear you. You out there, man?
He suddenly went on mute.
Here
I
we
don't know
go.
why. There you
Here we
go.
go.
He's
I am
back.
back. I'm back.
He's back.
Sorry.
Thank
Uh,
goodness, Foxy. I didn't want to talk for 40
I messed
minutes
with
straight.
my ear pod, and I think I muted it on accident. And I
Oh,
now
that's
I can't remember what the really insightful thing I was saying is.
well. We're talking about USF's
No.
conference. What'd you see in that game?
I think that I think that's a team that's let go of the rope a little bit. Um, I agree with you from a personnel perspective. That team should be top three or four in this league, easy. But it's just never really come together for them for whatever reason. Up here, Beasley and is it Message?
Yeah, message. Yeah.
Yeah, 25 points combined. Didn't shoot a great percentage, just 9 of 20, but still had a real impact. Just 7 points this last week, 2 of 13 from the field. And Beasley with 3 points in 35 minutes. So you needed those guys to have an even better night than what they had up here, and it just didn't happen for them. you know, you look at it, they're 5 of 24 from three. That's different than 14 to 28. I thought Gonzaga's defensive effort here the last 10 games has been really impressive. I mean, you look at they give up 86 to Santa Clara, who's probably, as I think, the best offensive team in the league. And then they lose on the road to Portland. Portland puts up 87.
Mhm.
I'm guessing that's going to be a whole lot lower on Wednesday night for
Better be.
for the pilots. But I mean, you look at that's it. So they're averaging 65 points allowed per game with those two kind of high marks.
Outliers.
If I take those out, those 8 other games, teams are scoring less than 60 against them.
Uh-huh.
And so defensively, I think this has really become the team's identity. And I think we've both been consistent all year thinking that the ceiling for them on that end of the floor was high. When you look at their personnel, they don't have a traditional shot blocker. That's certainly true, but they have a lot of versatility with their wing players, a lot of natural size, um, the ability to switch just about anything. Guys like Worley and Grant Foster and Achente can guard up a position. Mario's certainly big for his position. Even when Ventures was in the rotation and he's 6'7", they just had length everywhere on the floor.
Yeah.
Um, and I think you've seen them, really lean into that part of their identity, and it's been impressive. We'll talk about Pacific, but I think that was a part of their ability to win that game was, well, by and large, they were good on that end of the floor. And
Oh, for sure.
I think you saw that against San Francisco, just made it really difficult for the Dons to get comfortable on the offensive end. You talked about points in the paint, Gonzaga plus 20. Um, another great, solid, good performance from Ike, and then just the others, and that's just going. And I think I'll bring this up a little later, but it's the others. What are you getting from your other guys? Mario, very good, 14 points, efficient from the field, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. That's the staple of him having a good night. It's not just his scoring, but he does a little bit of everything. Particularly on the defensive glass, he's under control offensively. Makes good decisions. Only had one turnover. I think Worley's still struggling with that leg contusion in his thigh, but solid in 22 minutes, 11 points, steal and assist. Miller was third game in a row where he was productive, 9 points,
Yeah.
efficient from the field, 4 of 6. And Vogel, who's been, I think we've all thought we've all been able to see like there's something here. But with Huff coming out now, his minutes, I mean, he's playing over 20 minutes a game, and he's been really good, man, really good. I
Yeah.
think he's probably their most natural scorer on the wing.
Yeah.
And we saw that against Pacific. So and you mentioned Inocente, another double digit game. I think he's got 3 in a row now with the Pacific. Um, Still not shooting the ball incredibly well, but you count Pacific, he's averaging 14 a game and is shooting 57% from the field, despite just being 2 of 9 from three. But his rebounding, he's got
Yeah.
six a game, and several of those are coming on the offensive glass. So, um, I just think they're going to guard every night. I'm convinced of that now. I think that they really take a lot of pride on that end, and they're going to bring that every night. And it's just when the others can score it, um, it's going to make them really difficult to beat in this conference.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, you know, guarding, that's what they did against Pacific. That was
Yeah.
maybe not a work of art out there. This is not one you look at the video and go, "Wow, that was a lot of fun." But it was a real grinded out uh, affair. Pacific doesn't want to play fast. They don't have the personnel, but that doesn't mean they are well coached. Dave Smart, I talked to him after the game. They're a team when you watch them, you see what they're trying to do defensively. There was a little bit of a Seattle U defense that first time around against Seattle U. With what they did, their bigs held their ground really well with EK, pushed him out 15, 12, 15 feet from the hoop a lot of times for his catch. And that's where he shot a lot of shots from 12 to 23 feet. They forced Gonzaga to shoot over him. They clogged the paint. There was one great, I watched the replay. That's when I saw the sweater comment, or heard the sweater comment from Heister. Um, Emmanuel, it was somebody shot it, might have been EK, somewhere around the free throw line. Five guys in the paint for Pacific. Only guy close to the paint was Emmanuel. He was on the low block. He wedges through two guys, gets the rebound, lays it in with five
Hmm.
guys right there. And that's how they were most of the game. They were not giving up cutters because there was nowhere to cut that was open. They were guarding EK a lot of times single, and when they doubled, they were just like Seattle U had that first time around. Very smart about it, how they
Right.
it either dug or doubled and recovered really quick. Okay, letting a three ball here and there go. I just was impressed with their both sides. Offensively, they had, I think, five shot clock violations in that game. That's how patient they were. But when they weren't turning it over, they got good looks, especially in the first half. They got a lot of good looks. They run their stuff. The Clayton, was that his name? Clayton, the
Yeah,
point
Clay,
guard, was
he's
terrific.
he's really good at cutting you up. Yeah, 8 assists, 2 turnovers. Didn't shoot it well,
He,
but yeah.
yeah, on the coming around the ball screen, he was really crafty. Not a big time scorer necessarily, but had a bunch of assists. Ralph's a nice player. Rochelin was, I didn't felt like he had every rebound there for a while in the
Yeah.
first half.
First half he had 9.
Yeah, they played the way they wanted to play, and they made Gonzaga play that way. It's you can't ask for better preparation for the St. Mary's game because that's what they're going to see on Saturday. Same type of stuff. And the Zags found a way to win it. They, like you said, they milked enough scoring out of the others with Fogel and Emmanuel. EK, that was a roller coaster for EK. Let's talk about EK. What did you see from him that day? I've never seen him shoot so many jumpers. He's been doing that a little more as the without Huff. He's taken a few more threes and a few more jumpers, but he took a lot of them the other day, and he ended up with 20. What'd you see from the big man?
Yeah, I mean, he's taken 11 threes. He took 11 threes his last week, 2 of 11. Yeah, it was honestly, Jim, it was a really interesting game. It was hard to get your mind wrapped around what it is that was happening, because everything felt contradictory. You felt like Gonzaga's defensive effort was really good. I mean, I think there were 4 shot clock violations and maybe a couple late heaves from Pacific, and um, Pacific wants to be really methodical. I think you're right to compare them to Seattle U and certainly St. Mary's. Um, but there were stretches there where they just couldn't get into anything really. And then you'd have moments where Clayton in particular could turn that corner, and now you're creating a help situation, and he's kicking it out to shooters. And I thought their guys did a good job of, once that help was in process, pump faking and going and getting to the rim. They made some difficult shots, but to your point, when they were able to kind of break through the defense, they found some easier looks, and they had guys make those shots.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, Gonzaga, you know, I I'm stumped with them right now on the offensive side of the ball. But the one thing that they've done is they've protected it. They've only turned it over 4 times. They've under 10 turnovers in 7 of their last 10 contests. So they lose Huff, and I think they've made some adjustments, but I think that they're not going to be what they were on the offensive end. There's just no way they can do that. But the one thing they're doing is they're not coughing it up. So they might, we should talk about shot selection here. And sometimes these poor shots early in clocks can be, you could reasonably treat them as a turnover, but at least you're getting a look. They're coming down every time and getting a look. So only the 4 turnovers, really been good with the ball. Um, it's the second game they've been out. They were out rebounded both games this week.
Yeah. Paint points
Uh,
too. Yeah.
yeah, it's not. Part of their identity has been we're really good on the glass, and if this last week anyway was just not a good effort on the glass for GU. And I think you look at Pacific, what they did to Ike. Part of it he felt off in the first half. And that happens to even the best players, and who knows why. But really content just to take deep, long jump shots. I think he hit one early, a step back over Jack off the glass that probably felt pretty good. And I just think he kind of got stubborn about that. But to be fair, and we really highlighted it during the second half on our broadcast, every time he'd touch it, there would be no less than 4 Pacific players with at least 1 foot in the paint.
Yeah. Not necessarily doubling, but right there in the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
that has an impact on what you're seeing and how you think you can score. I thought in the second half he obviously did a better job of getting deeper touches. He would spin away from the double, but he also started catching it in that higher post area. So kind of on the logo, if you watch Gonzaga's game, so just under the free throw line, that's a really difficult place to double two. And he had some success doing that, and he hit some really hard shots.
He did.
Over a defender, got a couple calls that I was surprised with. Didn't get several calls that he should have gotten. But I mean, he had to hit some difficult shots, and that's what great players do. And they needed every single one of those. But he certainly got more involved in the painted area, and when he does that, he can make those hard shots. And he played like the player of the year in the league in the second half. So,
He did.
but that's the question, man. I mean, and another thing I would say is the fourth game in a row, Gonzaga's had 4 guys in double digits. So I've got all these concerns about their offense, which I think are valid. However, for fourth game in a row where they've got 4 guys in double digits. So what the hell do I know? I don't know. But it feels like this is what the recipe is going to be. I think they're gonna roll Portland on Wednesday. Senior night, a lot of emotion. They're going to be pissed about the loss at Portland. I don't give the Pilots any hope. But you think about that Moraga game. Pacific's game plan is not that dissimilar to what St. Mary's is going to do. The difference is St. Mary's has much bigger bigs and better bigs, and they've got better
More
players.
skill. More
Yeah,
skill
right.
on
And they're playing at home. I think you're going to see a heavy dose of that where it's one-on-one coverage against Graham, and they'll give him that jump shot. But as he starts trying to work his way into the paint, he's going to have a lot of people around him. And it may not
big
even
people.
be firm double teams. And the other thing that I noticed was, if you can in your mind's eye imagine the ball's on the left wing, though, in Graham's, on the block or wherever he is, it doesn't matter. Those 1 or 2 players on the far side of the court. So this is on the right side of the floor. Their help side is super exaggerated. When you're at a lower level, you tell your kids, "Hey, I want your butt on the rim." We're not worried about the kids can't make these passes across the court. And, if they do, they're long and loopy and you can get
Yeah.
out there at the college level. Your help side there is you may be just outside the paint because you've got to
Yeah.
be able to close out as the ball gets skipped or swung quickly. Pacific was just fine leaving whoever's on the wing alone and figuring we'll come out and contest or we'll just close out. We've got no faith that you can shoot it. And I mean, you look at in the last 5 games, man, they're shooting under 25%. They were 5 of 19. That's the last 5 games, five makes, five makes, three makes, three makes, three makes.
Every game. Yeah.
And so I just have concerns that if they can't find any kind of consistency from the 3-point line, you're going to see this defensive scheme, some iteration of it, a variation of it every night. And that makes life so difficult for Graham.
Yeah.
They have to figure out a solution to that because I think part of the reason he's taking all these threes is he's just as capable as anybody else,
Yeah.
and he's also getting open looks. So um, it was just a really odd game. When you have all these dead ball turnovers too, it doesn't give you any opportunity to get out in transition.
Yeah.
In a normal game, that's 6, 7, 8 turnovers where you get the ball and you run. I think they had
Yeah.
two fast break points. No, they
Yeah.
ended up
First half, I think.
ended up with
Yeah.
7. They got a few late, but deep
Yeah.
into the second half, they had the 2. So that's I'm kind of just rambling here. My last thing, and I'd like to hear your perspective on this, is the others, dude. The inconsistency that they're getting. I mean, look, I get it for Mario and Vogel. These are young guys. Absolutely. Mario was not good against Pacific. What did he end up with? He played 25 minutes, 2 points, 1 of 7 from the field, had the 6 rebounds, 1 assist, no turnovers. He had
Yeah.
three solo drives in
Forced
transition
drives. Yeah.
where he forced up prayers. Um, took a couple other ill-advised shots. That's fine. Like you can coach that. He's a young guy, but then I don't understand the variance where GU is getting from guys like Miller and Grant Foster. I mean, these are guys who've played, 5 years in college? I mean, Miller goes, I told you earlier, 14 points a game, 58% from the field, 3 previous games. He has 12 minutes, 4 points, 1 of 3 from 3.
Yeah.
Grant Foster, heading into the Pacific game, the 8 games before that, his best 4 games, let's call it, 24 minutes a game, 16 points, shooting 54% from the field. His quote unquote worst 4 games, 21 minutes a game, 6 points, under 6 points a game, 24% from the field.
Yeah.
That offensive, just that floor to ceiling is just enormous.
Yeah.
And I just don't, at this point in the year, and they've really cut down the rotation. I need the guys who I'm going to play and roll with. I need to know what your floor is. But the variance with these guys is, to me, I think it's startling, and I think it's a
Yeah.
concern, right? I mean, am I wrong about this?
No, it is. And the 3-point shooting, you might have the numbers. Last I looked, I think they were in the 20s, upper 20s in conference,
That's
like
about right. Yeah,
28 or 9%.
I'll pull it
And
up while you're talking.
what's startling about that is these are not forced looks. They're not burping up shot clock, late shot clock threes. These are pretty good looks. Not just
31% in the league.
31. Okay. Well, I mean, with the looks they're getting and the guys who are shooting them, for the most part, Millers and Mario and Grams hit him. Huff was hitting him before he got hurt. Innocente's hit him fairly well. That number should be mid 30s at least because the looks are good. They're not bad looks. These are open looks. But one last thing on EK. I mean, he has carried a massive load on his shoulders with Huff's injury, and it was at first half. It really felt like he kind of played in Pacific's hands. This is what they were willing to give him, and he took it. The perimeter shots, but they do not get to the finish line without it. I mean, he scored 16 in the second half. He got to the line. He hit his free throws. That was another sore point. The 3-point shooting and the free throws, we just can never dismiss them because they keep popping up so often. But he hit his free throws. He made 4 or 5 very tough. He's a left-hander and he was on the right side of the rim, so he's half his body's behind the backboard. He hits like an 8-footer on the baseline getting fouled. Tough shot. He hit a tough banker. He had a fadeaway in the middle of the paint. He hit some tough shots, but I felt like this was a game he was kind of tiptoeing on that line. And he does this. He did it against San Diego. You remember we talked about it after
Yeah.
San Diego, where his edge is what makes him who he is, and his emotion and his into it so much. But there's a point where he gets to that line or even over it. And I thought he did get over it in that second half. He's getting bounced around in there. Mark Feud said afterwards he gets fouled every play, and that's an exaggeration, but not a huge exaggeration. That he is getting fouled a ton in there, and I think he picked up that technical in frustration as well. He said something after a play down on the block, and that was one where he was point blank. He had two guys on him shooting about a 2-footer, and felt like he got fouled. But uh, he, he just he's been great about it all year. He's had a couple of times where he's pushed that that edge a little too far and got technicals. I think he's got at least 4 techs this year.
Yeah, I think so.
But bottom line is, and I think Mark did hit it on the head. Mark and him had about 2 or 3 chats during that game. He's trying to get him back to, we want all the emotion, we want all the outward expression, all those things, but we want it controlled. And I think that's what the discussions were. But Mark said after the game, he was asked about it. He did probably settle for some shots. I'm summarizing, not quote for quote here, but and he's getting fouled a lot. The paint is so crowded that it's almost uh, you know goes contrary to how he plays. That he wants to be down 6 feet from the hoop when he catches it. He wants to draw fouls and all those things, but there's so many people in there, it's not easy. They just want him to get back to what he does the best. And he shot it very well from three a lot of the year. But it's the one thing that really stuck out, much like we've talked about with Tyon, they have to beat the right ones to shoot threes. And I think that was kind of the bottom line. Get back to doing what you do, but there are going to be games, and Saturday's going to be like that too. There ain't going to be a lot of space in the paint. And those are bigger bodies. Those two guys from Pacific are big guys, and they held their ground. Vessels and McKeever are enormous bodies, huge. The help defender might be Moraskis, who's 6'8", 230-ish, so I think it was just another kind of a give and take there with find where you need to be on the court, but he did play through it, and he did. They don't win that game without him. That game is
No.
he scores 12. Where are the rest of the points coming from? I mean, they got to
Well,
60, 71, and it took a little late rush to get there. So
he was 2 of 9 in the first half, 6 of 12 in the second half. Much more efficient. 6 of 9 inside the arc. He missed his 3 threes. It felt like more than anything, he just made an adjustment himself. Look, man, we have talked about this, and we have seen some version of what Pacific did at times this year. Seattle U comes to mind. I mean, maybe, I don't remember every moment of every game and all that, but I called that game, so that stands out of my mind. Certainly there are other examples, I'm sure. You can't play that way if you don't have the right personnel to begin with, but you can say all day long that you've got to just go to your strength, and that is on the low block. But if there's a small village in the paint every time I visit it, that's really difficult, man. Like there's
they're
just
camping in there. Yeah.
there's a practical side to this thing too, which is there are a lot of bodies that are in my way. So it's one thing to beat a double, but it's difficult to beat a quadruple team. And what I'll be interested, for the St. Mary's game is they did not go big against GU up here. They just played Wessels or McCaver.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't go double big. I'll be very interested to see if they do that down in Moraga, where they put one of their big guys on Worley when he's out on the floor, and even for small stretches on Grant Foster. Understanding he's going to try to drive that matchup, but those guys are so big. You mentioned something about Graham's shot quality there in the first half. I think that was an issue for Gonzaga for stretches there. I mean, Mario, we talked about already. Grant Foster took a couple of really ill-advised
Forced. Yep.
threes in
Yep.
the second half. Um, when you're a team that struggles to score, and that is what Gonzaga is now, they will have an outlier. Probably Wednesday night, they'll put up 98 against Portland. But when you're playing teams at your level or thereabouts or better than you, and you know you're going to struggle to score. This is now what their program is. When it's just the way it is. You can't punt on a possession by taking a bad shot. It's the same as a turnover. Long rebound, now they're running, or they get the defensive rebound, they can walk it up. I have to imagine that's a conversation that's you have all the time with your players, but look, guys, it's that time of year now. I mean, we're on the cusp of March. We can't have those shots. You have to take good ones. You have to be patient. Let's find the right ones. And I thought they really got away from that for stretches there where they forced the issue.
Yeah, we shot 50% the second half, 37
Hmm.
first half. They go from 29 at half, 42 in the second half. Showed you kind of the progress made in the final 20 minutes
Yeah,
offensively.
but you're also playing Pacific.
Yeah. No,
So
that's what I'm saying.
so
St. Mary's is going to be Pacific on steroids. So
the room for error, and no disrespect to Pacific, they're having a crazy good year. I mean, picked to be
yeah,
in the bottom four of the league, and here they are trying to compete for a top, the fourth seed in the tournament.
that's impressive.
They're playing, and they're a good team, no doubt about it. Incredibly well coached. That was evident immediately. Um, that Ralph is a very good player. He's going to make a lot of money overseas.
Hmm.
Clayton's a very good guard. Doesn't shoot it great, but he really causes people a lot of problems. Rochelin's a good rebounder. Their bigs are solid, not great, but good enough.
Hmm.
That's Pacific, man. So your room for error is as tight as it felt on Saturday night. That room for error is relatively big when you're playing Pacific. You
Yeah.
can't take. I don't care. You shot 50% in the second half. Your talent did that. Your talent advantage. But when you play against a good team, you can't come down with no passes and force something in transition or one pass, shoot a three when you shoot 25% from that area. Those are not winning. You can't do that stuff against good teams. And when they just struggle to score, man, it's really
Yeah.
baffling to me. And I'm growing concerned about their offensive side of the ball, Jim.
Well, and you mentioned this weeks ago, and it pops up here and there. Especially if EK is being guarded where he's not dominating like that. It's ISO drive, and you saw that again. I thought in
Yeah,
Pacific a lot of times.
yeah.
I'm going to the rim, and they were good enough to stop him a lot of times, and they warded off those drives, and it's that's just not how they play.
They don't.
Have played, you know.
They don't. When you watch them, there's just not a lot of movement of bodies. Especially when Graham gets the ball, there's a lot of standing and watching because he's obviously incredible, and you expect good things to happen. But you watch, especially away from the ball, like other side of the floor, guys just stand.
Yeah,
And
except
you got to move bodies to move the defense.
yeah,
And there's just you're right. I mean, it's started with that San. It was most notable against that San
that
Francisco in that
first
San
San Francisco. Yeah,
when
yeah,
they didn't have EK.
yeah,
And so you could kind of understand it, um, but it's still lingering a little bit. And look, I sound pretty bearish right now, and part of that is coming out of having the flu and having called the game on Saturday, so that's the last time I've seen him play. So I want to be careful not to be too
yeah,
bearish, but so I will say the one thing that's become evident to me is their second best scorer is Davis Vogel. And you've seen Emmanuel now turn some corner in the coaches' minds as far as where his value. He's playing well north of 30 minutes a game. I think if Worley, I think if he was healthy, would be touching that 30-minute mark consistently. Mario is clearly taken over as the point guard. You're going to live with his ups and downs. Davis Vogel needs to be playing 30 minutes a game. You have to
yeah.
live with a couple of his bad decisions, But if you look at him on the aggregate, he can create his own offense. He's long enough and skilled enough where he can create space on his shots in a way that nobody else can. He puts a ton of foul pressure on teams. He can rebound. Defensively, he's very good. He's not as good as Worley or maybe even Grant Foster when they're dialed in. Part of that is just experience, but his effort is there. He has to play because they struggle. Their offensive struggles are such where they need to have another guy out there on the floor that can go get his and
Right.
make tough shots. Graham had to make what, four difficult shots in the second half. I mean,
Yeah.
contested over a body, help side nearby. He makes that because he's an all-American level player. Davis can make some of those shots because he's got an NBA profile. That's what NBA players can do. Like to me, I think they never. When you look at the arc of the season with Davis, you saw him in kind of garbage time. There was a lot to like. You didn't necessarily take it as seriously as obviously we should have. Then Huff gets hurt. Now he gets his opportunity. It still feels like they're kind of dabbling their toes with it though. Like it's a like kind of let's see how it goes tonight. I
Yeah.
think they have to turn the page on that. It's like you are part of our program. Like you don't have to start it or anything, but
Yeah.
you're coming in first media timeout. We'll take you out to rest, but we need you out there because you can score the ball.
Oh, he's clearly, I mean, he's come miles here in
Yeah,
the 8, 9 weeks, whatever it is. He's a better defender than he was. He's playmaking at times. He's had some assists in there. He gets his own shot. He rebounds very well. He's athletic. There's 1 or 2 times a game he gets out on the break and he isn't going in to lay it up. He's going in to throw it. And they need all those things. He is very capable off the bounce. I
well,
think I think like the other night he played 28 minutes. I think that's going to be unless
that's gonna
he's
be that's
unless
32,
he's not
34 moving
playing well
forward.
at all. Yeah, he's going to be in that neighborhood.
So
What do
I
you
looked at it real quick. I looked at it going into the game. In the 10 games going into Pacific, he's averaging just 22 minutes a game, averaging 10 points, 4 rebounds, shooting 51% from the field, 1.5 assists, 1 steal, and less than half a turnover a game. So he's not coughing it up.
No, he's playing all around tons better. He
Yeah,
really is.
sorry. I know we're running long, but I just go ahead,
No,
move me along, move me along.
no, I think you're on it. And I think that's going to happen. It's been happening for the most part. He's been at least in the 20s, but it's going to get north to 30, I think, if he keeps playing like that. Real quick on Portland. That was a bad day for the Zags last time at the Giles Center, 87-80. Big upset for Portland. Joel Foxwell, the point guard, just carved up Gonzaga. Ball screens, coming around, scoring, dishing, hitting 3 balls, getting to the rim, broke him down. Play after play, it felt like. What's got to change this time around? What's the adjustment you see coming for Foxwell? He got to do a lot of the same things you saw with Clayton the other day, but he can finish and he can shoot it. What do
Well,
you see him doing to? They're gonna. How much tape are they gonna watch on that kid the next 2 days trying to figure
look,
this out?
it's a very unique situation. You're not pushing any buttons for motivation. It's
Hmm.
senior. It's Ike Miller, Grant Foster, Worley. It's their last
Maybe
home,
Venters. We'll see.
maybe
Yeah.
Ventures, but last home game. They're going to play in a college uniform. Um, I remember senior night. It was awesome. We had 5 of us. It was we played Santa Clara. It was great.
Who'd you
Uh,
go out with? Was it Bankhead? Who
Bankhead,
wasn't?
Skinner, Step, and Violet.
Wow, what a class!
I know. I know. It's been downhill ever since for Gonzaga, obviously. Look, they're 1-4. They're 1-4 since beating Gonzaga. 0-3. They lost to Seattle or San Diego, Pepperdine, and Seattle U. They are the third worst team in this league. They
Record too.
caught lightning in a bottle. Had an out of body experience. Gonzaga was not themselves. Um, they're going to be pissed about it. It's a great way to show the selection committee. We had an off night. We just beat them by 40 at home.
Yeah.
So I expect it to be a massive whooping of the Pilots. If it's anything but that, I'll be shocked. With respect to Foxwell, I think it's very much, if I remember correctly, you and I both felt like we were confused by some of the defensive schemes with him. In particular, Worley was guarding up a position, so he's guarding the four, and he would be hedging but not switching. And Emmanuel got caught behind a lot. I expect that
Chasing.
they're either gonna switch a lot of those ball actions, or they're going to trap, and they're going to force him to give it up, make him really uncomfortable. You look at what he's done since Gonzaga. I mean, right after GU against Seattle and USD's 4 of 22 from the field.
Wow.
Versus Pepperdine, 13 of 23, had 35. Obviously, shot the ball a ton. He was okay the other night against Seattle, 20 points on 5 of 12 shooting. Um, I just think everything centers with him, and I would expect this to be a very physical game where Gonzaga tries to put a number up on the glass. So,
Hmm.
look, I didn't think much of. We didn't. I think I deliberately was like, we're not talking about this game going into it. So I know I'm playing with fire here, but I'm willing to.
Yeah.
That's my bet of the week. One of my bets of the week. You know, I don't know what the spread is, so I'm at a disadvantage. I'm going to
Hmm.
say that I'm going to call it right now, 25 and a half. I'm going to say Gonzaga
Okay.
wins by more. What are you
Uh,
going to do? What's your bet?
uh, 25 and a half. I
You
think it
want
was
to take the upper?
20. I think it was 21 or 22 the last time down there. I'll say, man. All right, we'll get to that.
All right, think
We'll
about
come
it. All
back
right,
to it.
let's move on to
We got
St.
to
Mary's.
move on to St. Mary's. Uh, going to be a lot on the line there. If Gonzaga beats Portland, the Zags can go for a solo title. St. Mary's has won the last two. I think that is in the back of their minds for sure. If they went out, that they would have at least a co-title from the St. Mary's end. I don't think the Zags want to share one bit, especially with their arch rivals who run the regular season the last 2 years. There's no mystery with these teams. You know what's coming. You know what the Gales are going to do. What Pacific did to a larger degree, they're going to try to make Gonzaga play half court offense, execute, and they're going to try to make them shoot over you. And they're probably going to tempt them at the 3-point line. Several of their guys. If you want to shoot it, go ahead and shoot it. We're willing to live with that. Offensively, they're going to run their stuff. They're going to milk the clock down. That crowd is going to be out of their minds in that arena with the last game against Gonzaga. It'll be senior night for them.
Are you hey,
So
are you coming out of retirement to go to that one?
I am going down. I wouldn't miss that game.
Nice. Okay.
Dress appropriately. I'll be in a t-shirt or a short sleeve golf shirt because it's about 90 up there in the
I love
rafters.
that. I love that. Okay.
Standing
Keep
room
going.
only behind me. So anyway, that's going to be just one of the. There are not many people there, but you're not going to find a louder place. It is going to be from start to finish a tough place to play. What what do you see happening in that game? That was I thought that was going to be our bet of the week. Pick it outright because I
Oh, well, we have two. It's not like we have
okay.
a spot. We don't have a sponsor telling us what we
That's
can and can't
true.
do.
We can do
We're
whatever we
free.
want.
We are
We're
free.
free. We can do two. So,
Yeah.
what are you looking
Sponsor.
forward to Saturday night?
Well, let's remember St. Mary's they're hosting Santa Clara Wednesday. So they've
True.
got work to do.
Somebody's going to have three losses. Them or Santa Clara. Yeah.
You look at how St. Mary's is obviously has one out. Since losing up here in Spokane, they've really taken care of business outside of a tough game at Seattle U last Wednesday. You look at their box scores, all their guys are playing well. Shooting it at a good clip, Dent's distributing the ball well. I think it's going to come down to the production of um, the, what kind of production do they get from Wessel and McKeever?
There are others. Yeah.
Yeah. So up here, McKeever's 0-5 from the field, 8 rebounds. You expect that. Wessel just 1 of 2, had 5 rebounds. So they get 6 points from their center position. St. Mary's, if I'm St. Mary's, I need more from you both Saturday. I need you to put pressure on Ike, or if you've got a mismatch with Worley or Grant Foster, I need you to deliver I don't need that number to be 16 or 18, but I need that number to be 12, 14. And I need you to give me some production. But I don't know, man. I don't normally, this is true. I love calling the games. It's a super cool way to be close to it without having any pressure, right? Um, and I never miss playing, ever. I never think about playing.
Yeah.
I miss, the like locker room sometimes, and I have great memories of that. But my memories are not about games. Like I really don't. Maybe a handful of games where I remember something or whatever it is. And being in Spokane, it's so unique where you know three of the four seniors I graduated with live here
Yeah.
and the other one's Bankhead, and I talk to Bankhead. So like, you stay close to these guys. These are the games where I'm like, man, that's what I remember. Like that that nervousness and that excitement, and um, that's why you play is for those games. As much as you respect the Pacifics and Portlands of the world, and they're like something to do. It's part of the job or part of the process, and you get up for those games, fine. But it's not it's not infrequent that you have to generate that enthusiasm inside yourself to
Yeah.
play those teams when you really believe that you're gonna win. Like the
Yeah.
talent difference, the skill difference is such where you're not worried about losing, and you almost know if you lose, it's because you completely fell apart. But when you're playing against somebody that you know can beat you, plus you're playing for a league championship, those moments are very few and far between as an athlete, and those are the ones that I miss.
Yeah.
And so I'm so pumped that you're going down there for that because there's no way to really feel it unless you're in the building. That's the closest you can get to what the players feel like. Um, so, I would expect both teams. I mean, they're going to play exceptionally hard. I would expect it to be very physical. It's going to be, I don't think Gonzaga's they're not looking to play as fast as they used to. I haven't felt that. I think it's they're defensive minded, rebounding. They've got to get back to the rebounding, Jim. To lose,
Yeah.
to get out rebounded by Pacific and San Francisco. I know that you're not as big as you were. That just can't happen down in Moraga, and that is going to be very, very difficult against arguably one of the best rebounding teams, certainly offensive rebounding teams in the country. They
Yeah.
have to do a great job on the glass. Um, I think it's going to come down to who can make it harder to score than the other group. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game, and it's going to come down to the others, Jim. I mean, who else besides Ek? Ek is going to find a way to have an impact in that game. You know, Ek doesn't go 4 of 20. He's going to figure out where he can score and how he can score. He's going to have a number. But how does Mario play? What does Grant Foster do? Does Miller make a few shots? Um, what does Davis do? I mean, that'll be the biggest game of Davis's life, and he's got a lot of confidence, but can they
That's a
get,
big animal there.
I
Yeah.
mean, is Davis giving them 8 points on 3 of 9, or is he giving them 15 points on 6 of 10?
Yeah.
As you get in the line. So, and that's the hard thing for me, Jim, is I don't know what to expect from the others. And at this point in the year, that to me is a red flag. I mean, I don't think you can tell me with any confidence how you think those others are going to play on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. We'll do two bets of the week. We'll pick St. Mary's Gonzaga, and we'll pick what did you have? What was your points on Portland? Over
24
under
and a half.
24 and a half.
I went over.
You're over. Well,
And I'm not giving you a point one way or the other. Tell
oh,
tell
that's
tell
right.
tell our friends listening what happened to me last week.
Gladly, we'll tell our friends listening.
It's the
I
last
threw
time I do a
out.
nice thing.
I was, temporarily lost my mind, and I threw out an over under for Graham Ike, who's got this stretch of 9 20-point games now. I think I threw out 21 and a half because it was
You
close
did.
to his average. in conference average, and immediately regretted it. And you just immediately went over and said something to the effect of, 21 and a half.
He was
It,
averaging
it,
almost 26 a game.
oh, for like 5 or 6 games or something crazy. And you said, come on, make it like if you make it a real challenge, I'll give you 22 and a half or something to that effect. So I took it, but like I said, in the back of my mind, I threw it out there and went, "What are you doing?" So anyway, took the 22 and a half. What did he end up with, Foxy? Was it
22.
22?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I called an email to Scott Van Pelt for bad beats. That's perfect. That is the perfect bad beat. Renegotiating and giving me a point. Quite kind of you, Foxy. I appreciate that. So, all right, let's do this. I will go. You've got over for Portland. I'll go under, not because I believe it, because I don't want to go the same as you. And for Gonzaga St. Mary's, the final time in the regular season, I don't think the Zags want to share. Well, I know they don't want to share. Tall task. I think they're going to find a way somehow, some way to win that game. I'll go Gonzaga over St. Mary's. What do you got?
We don't know the spread of that game yet, do we?
It might be 2 or 3, would be my guess for Gonzaga, but it might be pick 'em. It's on their
Yeah.
floor. They're
Well,
two-loss team in
I'm
conference.
I'm on an emotional roller coaster. If you'd asked me that question at the beginning of the podcast, I would have been firmly like, I think St. Mary's finds a way. But now I've somehow uh I've burned off my negative energy and now feel more positive about
You
Gonzaga.
see, you vented. You vented and you
I
feel
bet, yeah,
better,
that's
Foster.
probably exactly what it is. I've had no one to talk to about this. Thank you, Jim. I will pick the other side of it just to keep things interesting. Um, I do have all the concerns that I have expressed today. I feel strongly. Um, it's very dangerous to bet against Mark and Graham Ike. Um, they're going to have a lot of time to prepare for this game, and there's a lot on the line. But I just don't have a lot of confidence in the others, and I have all the confidence in their talent, but their consistency to me is the lack of consistency, I should say, is unexplainable. To when you've got guys who've played in college for 5 years to have that variance in their production night in and night out. Uh, I don't know if I've ever I know I've seen it before, but it's just not something you'd expect. I don't expect. So um, I'm going to pick St. Mary's. I'm a little less convinced about that now, but if St. Mary's does find a way to win, I think you're going to see a very similar game plan to Pacific. I think you're going to see a very low possession game. You'll see St. Mary's hit some shots that they didn't hit up here. Their bigs are going to play a little bit better. They're going to put a number on Gonzaga on the glass, and it's going to be very difficult for GU to find points.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. But I'm not as
Okay.
convinced about that as I was at 10:05, but now it's 11:05, and I'm going to stick with that.
Well, we'll be back to recap it all next week. I appreciate everybody tuning in as always. I'll post this here in a couple hours, usually around Monday, noonish, 1 o'clock, something like that. And come by the Spokesman website. You can find it there, find it on YouTube. Thanks to Christy Burns for hanging in with us for another hour. We went overtime again in honor of the hockey teams. We went overtime. Thanks for tuning in. See you in a week.